Continue on here on Three Dog Thursday. Time for the roundtable. Again, find us on video at Three Dog Thursday on YouTube. If you're only hearing the show via a subscription to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, make sure that you find the video on YouTube. And the roundtable guests are here from Las Vegas, home of the Vegas Golden Knights, who are hanging in the Western Conference playoffs. Mr. T.C. Martin of the T.C. Martin Show. Initials brother from another mother, as I always like to say. How you feeling?
My man, TJ Rives, feeling good, feeling fine on a nice day here in Las Vegas. Not 115 today, a cool, crisp 81.
Only 81, but it's early out in Vegas.
I always wanted to be a meteorologist, by the way.
Well, working in Vegas, it's pretty easy. It's just going to be hot. It's desert hot. Also, making his debut on the video roundtable and on the podcast, say hello to Jason Powers of the Powers on Sports podcast. He's based in the Tampa Bay area, which makes him a really smart guy in and around the same area where I am. Jason also with a background as a college football player as well. Powers on Sports, how are you?
How are you, TJ? Nice to meet everybody today. Beautiful. It's probably a little more than 81 here in Tampa. It's probably about 92 or
81. It's 81 overnight, and it's 95 by 8 a.m. Where we are with the humidity. So it's all good. We're going to circle back around and talk some college football with Jason. Tyler Jones is very patient. Tyler Jones is on 6 days a week in the greater Kansas City area, actually in Lawrence, KLWN radio, and also the Tyler Jones Live podcast. Tyler Jones, how you feeling as you come back in on Three Dog Thursday?
Hey, I am doing fantastic. It is a Chiefs game day, and we're expecting a Chiefs victory and another Super Bowl wouldn't hurt either in Kansas City.
All right. So let's get right in and talk about these matchups, these different games, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's begin right there with the NFL and the Chiefs as the defending Super Bowl champs. Here, we're taking a look on the screen for video purposes right now at Patrick Mahomes. People forget he was a little nicked up at the beginning of last year, but boy, did he turn it on and lead the Chiefs to their first Super Bowl win since going back to, Super Bowl IV last season. So it all begins with Thursday night with the Texans coming in. So, Tyler, why don't you pick it up? You're in the market. How amped are they? They are going to have about 25% fans at Arrowhead Stadium. They are going to raise the Super Bowl banner. That guy right there has already cashed in with a massive $300+ million guaranteed contract. Tyler, what about the Chiefs?
This Chiefs team is phenomenal coming back to 2020, and I can't think of a team better positioned to repeat in quite some time than this Kansas City bunch. If you recall last year, that playoff run, they won every single game by double digits, and they trailed in every single one of those games by double digits. This Houston Texans team isn't as good as what they were a season ago. That defense is depleted. Offensively, they've lost DeAndre Hopkins as well, traded him off. I expect the Chiefs to have a big-time performance to just roll over this Houston Texans team. I think this could be a big blowout for the Chiefs tonight in this matchup. And ultimately, I like the Chiefs to repeat as Super Bowl champions. They get things started on a very good note with a big-time win tonight against Houston.
How about that? And again, depending on when you're hearing us, we debut on Thursday. You may already know how smart that was that Tyler was laying that out, or how dumb it was. I get the feeling I saw a nod of the head, and I sort of know this. T.C. Martin disagrees. And the line is what, 10 and a half for Three Dog Thursday purposes? Are you woofing a little Deshaun Watson and the Texans against the Chiefs for Three Dog Thursday?
I do like the Texans on a Three Dog Thursday. And, with you, TJ, even though we're on a Three Dog Thursday, I'm going to the window and taking the dog regardless with the Houston Texans. Yes, we have seen the underdog cover these last few years after we have the Super Bowl special on Thursday night, the first, nationally televised game, first game of the season, so to speak. And we see a little bit of a letdown. We see the dogs have come through in this situation. And I understand what Tyler's saying here, and the Chiefs are made to win this year again. They're going to be the favorites. They are the favorites to go back to back here. But when you look at this situation, there is a big revenge situation here with Houston as well, too. I know DeAndre Hopkins is gone, but you still have Will Fuller. They've also, added to their roster as well too. And I think, Deshaun Watson signing the big contract is a plus here, but I think this is way too many points, especially for an opening night. We remember what happened in that playoff game in January, going back 9-10 months ago. Remember, the Texans had a 24-point lead in this game. Granted, they lost 51-31 and they collapsed in the second half. However, the way they moved the ball effortlessly in that first half and to build a 24-point lead, this is a game they have had circled on their calendar. This will be a close ball game. I will take the 9.5 very, very openly. I will take it all, and it would not surprise me with an outright winner myself.
Love the insight of TC Martin. All right, Jason Powers, your turn. You're kind of like the tie-breaking vote here, just for Three Dog Thursday purposes. Are you agreeing with TC that the Texans can keep it close? He makes a good point. They have a positive memory of being up big. It's just they don't want to watch the last 2 quarters or so of that game. But what about it, Jason?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think even if the Kansas City plays really well, I think Houston's going to score points. They added David Johnson and Brandon Cooks in the offseason to help replace DeAndre Hopkins, who they basically gave away to Arizona. But I'm with you. Usually first game jitters that first week. Again, remember, this is a complete training camp that these teams have had. No contact, no hitting. So it'll probably be a wide open flag football type of affair offensively, I would think, early. I could definitely see Houston covering. Even if it's a prevent touchdown late, I would take the Texans and the points if I had to pull the trigger here.
All right.
Hey, let's don't forget Randall Cobb is there as well too to add to that wide receiving core. So I still think Houston has a lot of talent. And then again, no one's talking about J.J. Watt. I mean, he's back, he's healthy. I think this is a close ball game.
And the Kansas City defense is still not very good. I mean, as well as they played and won the Super Bowl, they're still not a great team on defense. No matter they re-signed Chris Jones, they have Tyrann Mathieu, but they are still suspect in the secondary, it seems to me.
Well, they do bring back Juan Thornhill, their star rookie safety last year, who did not play in the postseason, had that ACL injury. He's going to be good to go for tonight's game. I think the Chiefs' defense is going to take a major step. Look at what they did in December of last year as they were still learning Spag's system when he took over as DC. They were the number 1 defense for the month of December last year. I think you'll see more of that in 2020.
All right, so again, we've covered it a bunch on Chiefs and Texans. Again, you may be listening after Thursday and you have a pretty good idea, or watching this after Thursday on YouTube and you have a pretty good idea of how smart these guys are or not, depending on which way that they go. I happen to think the number is probably about right, that it's a double-digit win, something like that. I'm not copping out just to cop out on that one. I just think it's about where it should be on that one. All right, some fun here as we talk with our guests. Again, TC Martin of the TC Martin Show is out in Vegas. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast, hanging in the Tampa Bay area with me. The Tyler Jones on 6 days a week in the greater Kansas City area. Also, Tyler Jones Live is the podcast he has. We'll tell you more and show you more about that in a few minutes. College football, and now I'm playing Jason Powers' tune here for the UAB Blazers. That is coming on Thursday night. UAB coming up against the Miami Hurricanes on Thursday evening. Jason Powers, that is 14 points for the Blazers. One of the things I like here is the fact that UAB has already played a game and won. It was not easy. They had to hang on kind of in the second half with Central Arkansas. They had a big lead. They hung on. They won. What about your Blazers here? You played for them in the 90s. We're looking here on the page at the Blazers and UAB football, trying to build something special. They won their division a year ago in Conference USA. I worked the CUSA title game on national radio where Lane Kiffin's Florida Atlantic Owls beat them badly. But still, Bill Clark's done a quality job. They've played a game. It's Miami's debut. It's in Miami. Jason, give me a thought on the alma mater who you played for here about this matchup and 14 points against the Hurricanes.
All right, so I had to dig into the closet. I busted out the helmet from.
Where is it? Hold it up.
95.
Hold it. Look at that. The 95 helmet. 95 helmet right there on Three Dog Thursday. Find the video. If you're not finding the video, that's not a replica. That's the real McCoy.
That's legit. That is my game helmet. Not a lot of hits. I was a punter kicker, so not a lot of marks.
I was going to say that. I didn't see any marks on there. What's going on? Did you get off the field there? Were the pants white too or gold?
Usually his jersey was clean. Yes, usually his jersey was clean. That's for sure there on that. All right, so I think Jason may have disappeared for a second. He is so excited he may have spazzed out here on Three Dog Thursday. He agrees with me that UAB can hang in this game. Tyler, I'll go to you first. Again, a first game for the Canes. UAB's already played one. What about it?
Man, I'm still not buying Miami as a legit team just yet. I think they have a ways to go. UAB, we've seen with that program since they came back, brought football. They've been very competitive and even better than what they were before they abandoned their football program. I think UAB can hang within 14.5. Maybe we're talking about them even pulling off the upset.
TC Martin, what about it here on this? And Jason Powers, by the way, rejoining us as well live. This is a live to tape situation on Three Dog Thursday, so Powers will be here in a second. TC, though, what about this here with UAB and Miami? What do you think?
I was high on UAB last year going into that the game that you did on the radio. And I went to the window on those Blazers, and I'm still feeling it in my pocketbook, in my heart. I was distraught and disgusted, and I cannot get that game out of my system, how Florida Atlantic ran up and down the field against them. And when you look at that, I still, like I said, that's stuck in my craw. And, I like what Manny Diaz is doing. He finally has a recruiting class underneath him. And the big key for Miami is, and all the hype with De'Erica King, who is their quarterback, the transfer from Houston, and everything that I'm hearing coming out of Miami is like this offense is going to be very, very explosive. So I think the number is right at 14. It wouldn't surprise me if UAB covers. But again, when you look at these two rosters, Miami has been in some turmoil, but they still got some great athletes. And I think, they needed this offseason to really come back together. And Diaz is a really good motivator. Again, I just can't get that out of my system, how the UAB got drug up and down the field.
All right.
Back in
they
December.
can run the ball a little bit. Can UAB?
Back. I mean, the guy has over 3,000 career yards. But again, he couldn't run the ball against Florida Atlantic. What are you going to do against the Miami D? And here comes the turnover chain. Where's the turnover chain? Somebody give me the turnover chain.
Well, Powers is back here. All right, you got so excited. I don't know if you went to run outside and put the helmet on and go try to play or have a field goal. Stand up here for the Blazers. If they hang in there and have a shot to win, give me a thought on why that will be, Jason Powers.
I'm totally with you. I think that the benefit of them playing last week and kind of getting the jitters out of their system, they had 3 turnovers, which I think kept the game way closer than it was last week. I think this is a UAB team that's not afraid to win. You were there when they beat LSU numerous years ago. But
wow, yeah.
Bill Clark is the kind of guy, this is not a payday for UAB. This is a game they think they can win, and they think they can go to Coral Gables. And obviously Miami is struggling the last few years. Manny Diaz trying to get it back going. They know De'Eric King a little bit. I think they've played him when he was at Houston. So I definitely like the Blazers to keep the game close. And it's going to be a fourth quarter kind of game. And Bill Clark, they expect to win games now. This is not a we hope to win. They expect to win.
Interesting point on that with UAB revitalizing football, 4 years ago, and now have been in the Conference USA title game. They revitalized it 3 years ago. Conference USA title game the last couple of years on that. Again, we've got the panel hanging out here. Again, Brian Edwards, our handicapper, was on just before this show, and he was throwing out a couple of the numbers, including a year ago, Miami being 1-4 as a double-digit favorite against the number, only 1-4, and they lost 3 of the games outright as a double-digit favorite. Again, that's last year, different quarterback, different offensive coordinator. We'll see if it means anything for this go-around. Okay.
Can I make one more point?
Yeah, please, go.
Rhett Lashley, the offensive coordinator at Miami now, used to be the offensive coordinator at Auburn with Gus Malzahn. Bill Clark, very familiar with the Auburn, Alabama programs, and with the Rhett Lashley offense. So it will not be a surprise what they unveil with De'Eric King. Lashley and Bill Clark are friends and know each other. So, again, a little more insight there as far as the connection of those two.
Love all of that. Again, whether you're watching us on the YouTube page for the Three Dog Thursday Roundtable or you're hearing us, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. If you found us through the Sports Gambling Podcast networks of shows, that's Jason Powers. Powers on Sports is the podcast. Tyler Jones with me in Kansas, in the greater Kansas City area. TC Martin with me in Vegas with the TC Martin Show on 5 days a week in the afternoons there. All right, before we move off of the football, I want one more underdog if you guys care. TC, do you have another underdog you like, either college or pro, this weekend to advise me here for Three Dog Thursday while we're making the picks? You got one more real quick?
Actually, I've got two. I'll give you one in college and one in the NFL. Duke is playing Notre Dame. I will take the Blue Devils plus 20 in this game. Duke has a new quarterback in Chase Bryce. Some people may remember him. He's a transfer from Clemson. And when Trevor Lawrence went down in a game last year, Bryce rallied that Clemson team to the victory. And David Cutcliffe is back calling the plays now for Duke as well, too. And we know that he's an offensive genius. And he gave those play calling duties away the last couple seasons. He's taken him back. And if you remember what happened in this game when they played in South Bend 2 years ago, Duke was a 20-point underdog. They won the game outright, 38-35. So I like Duke getting 20 in this game. I think they'll keep it. There's a lot of hype with Notre Dame, with Ian Book and company, but still Duke has 7 returners on the defensive side. I think they keep it close here. I'm not sure they're going to win the game, but plus 20 is very, very inviting. On the NFL side, I'm going to go with the Rams as a home doggy. And in Vegas, we love home dogs here. They're playing the Dallas Cowboys, and the Rams are one of the best defenses in all the NFL. They got Aaron Donald. They got Michael Brockers, but now they got Jalen Ramsey as well, too. And, again, I'm not sold on Dak Prescott, especially against this defense. And it's only 2.5, 3 points, depending when and where you get it. But I do like the Rams at home. Home dog is always nice. And, in that Conference USA territory, which you guys are familiar with, there's a Rams running back that I think is going to have a bust-out year, and that's Darnell Henderson. You guys probably remember him from Memphis. He's there, as well as Malcolm Brown from Texas. So since Gurley's left, these guys have gotten a chance to step up. They still got great wide receivers in Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. Yep. So I really like the Rams as a home dog here.
Yeah, very interesting. And Cam Akers, the FSU running back, we were talking a couple of weeks ago on this podcast that I said, Jason knows this. Gene Deckerhoff, Jason played at Florida State for 1 year. Gene Deckerhoff is the Hall of Fame voice of the Florida State Seminoles and the Buccaneers. And other than Bobby Bowden, there may not be anybody that's seen more or knows more Florida State football. He told me 2 years ago, Cam Akers is the best. He may be the best running back I've ever seen. And I know Florida State had bad seasons, but that's high praise. We'll see if Akers does well in that game. And Tyler Jones, I know you're kind of nodding along about Rams and Cowboys Sunday night real quick. For an NFL doggy, you kind of like that one too?
Oh, I love that bet. I like the Rams to win this game outright, let alone the 2.5 that you give me to work with there. I like this Dallas Cowboys team, don't get me wrong, but it's going to take time for this team to adjust to Mike McCarthy's system. With no preseason games, they're still learning with what they're putting in place there. And the Rams with Goff and company, I think that they'll have a good debut, new stadium and everything. They'll want to start out on a good note. So I like the Rams there. My college bet, I am going to go with UTEP at plus 44 against Texas. Texas did not win a single game last year by more than 35 points. I know UTEP's bad. They went 1-11. But I don't think that Texas, under these circumstances of COVID and not having that many practices, is going to be polished up enough to beat anybody by 44 points.
So you're hoping that UTEP can score like 10 points, maybe 17 points, and then that forces Texas to score 60 or 70. That's your hope on that 40-plus
right.
point spread, right?
Yes, exactly. So my pick is not so much about UTEP. It's more so about Texas. I don't see Texas beating anybody by 44.
It is more like just an absolute orgy of points for Tyler Jones in that one. Jason Powers, remaining moment or two. Give me another underdog. Maybe you got 2 of them, college, NFL, or both. Give me 1 or 2.
I'm going to go on the college ranks. I'm going to go down to Mobile, Alabama. South Alabama hosting Tulane. South Alabama played last week against Southern Miss. Beat them on the road. After the game, the Southern Miss coach was whacked after 1 game, which was very much of a surprise. So I like South Alabama having played a game at home. The line has started out at about 9.5. It's all the way down to 7.5. So some of the smart money's getting on South Alabama. South Alabama's had a great program the last 5-6 years. So give me the Jaguars plus the 7.5 at home. And on to the NFL. One pick. It's not a homer pick. Tom Brady getting 3.5 points on the road with no crowd noise in New Orleans to deal with. Give me Tom Brady and the Buccaneers plus the 3.5 all day long in New Orleans. No crowd. He'll be able to communicate. You'll be doing the game. You'll be seeing play every play. I just have a hard time believing with those weapons that Tampa Bay has that the New Orleans defense is going to be able to contain Tom Brady with no crowd noise.
You're on to something there, and obviously they see over my shoulder what's over the shoulder there, that I'm part of the Bucs radio broadcast, so I'm in the bag for the Buccaneers. That's understood. We'll talk more in the final segment here coming up on Three Dog Thursday about that game, but Jason makes a lot of good points on that one. TC, I think I saw you shaking your head. You're saying no on Buccaneers and the 3.5 as a doggy, just real quick, in New Orleans with Breeze and the Saints?
Oh no, no opinion on that game whatsoever.
All right, so none.
I love
but we'll
Tom
see.
Brady. I love Drew Brees. Again, I probably don't want any part of that game.
All right, so he's staying away for Three Dog Thursday purposes. All right, let me promote where you can hear these guys as we go around the room. Again, the Powers on Sports podcast is where you will find Jason Powers. Again, subscribe on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. There's a look at it. The Powers on Sports podcast. Find it right there. He's got thoughts on the NFL and the NBA playoffs that are rolling right now. And he's probably talking some UAB Blazers on the podcast with Powers on Sports. We love that. You find Tyler Jones again with KLWN Radio in Lawrence, Kansas, 5 days a week in the mornings, but also find his podcast. It's The Jones Report. Right there, search The Jones Report, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast. That's out a couple of different times. And my man TC Martin has his own site. The TC Martin Show is on 5 days a week in Las Vegas. And you can listen to archive episodes of the show and his brilliance from Vegas daily on the TC Martin Show. Lots of handicapping, lots of stuff. TC, if I'm not mistaken, you were at the Cosmopolitan every Friday at the sports book there making the picks. So it gets no better than that. You're lavished on Fridays now, making the picks at the Cosmopolitan because they're back up and running. They got some public, some fans that are there in Vegas with the social distancing and the guidelines. You're back in your element, my friend.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Going our third year at the Cosmopolitan. Football season, basketball season. It's a great atmosphere. So anyone that's coming to Vegas, come by the Cosmopolitan. Is probably one of the best places on the Strip. But, we're there each and every Friday afternoon doing our best bet segment where we give our 3 best college plays, 3 best NFL plays. We're breaking it down. So our Friday show is pretty much all handicapping with our Vegas handicappers and special guests.
Love it. Tyler Jones, again, is there in Kansas for the upcoming Kansas City Chiefs Thursday night game, depending on how that goes as the defending champs. Powers is so pumped up. I'm disappointed you didn't put the helmet on for UAB. He may try to do that. There it is, the UAB helmet for UAB in Miami, if you're seeing us on the YouTube video.
I actually tried to put it on. I don't think my head's gotten too big in the last 25 years. I can't get it on.
And literally, the Powers head has gotten too big there for that. So good luck with that. Guys, thank you. I appreciate all of you hanging out on the Three Dog Thursday video portion of the show. Good luck with your underdog predictions. A lot of common belief in some of these different games. We'll see how they go for underdog purposes, but thank you for kicking it around. The NFL is back, and I thank Jason Powers, TC Martin, and Tyler Jones. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, TJ.
Thanks.
Great to be with you, TJ. Take care.
All right,
guys.
always love that. The podcast does continue. Brian Edwards on the audio version of the podcast coming back to talk NFL with me. Again, subscribe to the YouTube page for the video. Find the audio podcast. There's more NFL talk coming up on the audio podcast straight ahead on Three Dog Thursday.